Welcome back, everyone. Today I bring you round two of Torneio Internacional Cidade de Famalicão, and this was the first tournament of the summer run of tournaments that I had, and yeah, let's see how this went. So I was playing against Serinath Arau in round two. First round I played a unrated kid. The game wasn't interesting at all, so I skipped to the second round and as you guys can see, I'm playing an international master from India, 2287 rated. Um, and yeah, this was my first time playing an international master. I was very excited, very nervous, and yeah, just ready to try to play some good chess. So yeah, for this game, I started with knight f3. My opponent went knight f6, g3, g6, bishop g2, bishop g7, casas, casas. And this might seem weird, but yeah, for I just decided that in this summer, I my approach to the tournaments with the white pieces would be to play knight f3 and go for this type of king's Indian attack setups and just just improvise, just use some ideas that I seen in some games and just be creative and not to follow theory. I thought that I just wanted to play a game without theory and just see my abilities without having to memorize 1,000 lines from courses and etc. I was a little bit tired of that. So yeah, I just decided to take this approach and see how it went. So okay, here we have a pretty symmetrical position. I go d3, following my plan of going for a king's Indian attack type position. He goes d5 here, taking more space. And yeah, okay. I already was thinking a bit here because in an ideal world I was thinking about knight bd2 and then e4, but I didn't go knight bd2 immediately because I was afraid of something like a d4, to be honest. Let me just turn on the engine. Yeah, the engine doesn't think this is that big of a deal for black. Just knight b3 and okay, I mean knight c6 and I can always break with c3. But I was afraid of letting my opponent push d4, so here I went for c3 to prevent d4. My opponent went knight c6 and he is threatening to play e5. And here, okay, I just played knight bd2, saying that okay, if you go e5 here, I'll just go e4, and that's it. So here, my opponent after knight bd2, he played a5, and this move kind of caught me a little bit by surprise, and you know, I was trying to figure out what I should do, but yeah, I didn't think much of this move. I couldn't really figure out his idea, so I just decided to keep going with my plan. I played e4 here. My opponent took. On e4, I took back with the pawn, and okay, I was happy with this position here. Here, my opponent played a4, and these are the types of moves where you know like I don't really know what he's trying to do here. I mean, is he trying to play e3? Uh, is he just trolling? Like I don't know. It's really weird for me to understand the idea of just spending two tempos on just moving a5, a4, and yeah, I was a bit confused. I was trying to figure out what was going on, and I couldn't really tell what his big idea was. I mean, I ended up playing queen c2. I thought that a3 would be a bad move because it would give him this really good square in the future. Maybe a knight landing there, maybe a bishop could land there, and yeah, I don't see a problem with letting a3 be played as long as I can keep an eye on c3, and that's why I played queen c2, which I feel like it's logical. And here My opponent played bishop d7, and I was okay. I mean, I can kind of understand that move. Probably wants to play queen c8 and trade light square bishop. So here, in order to prevent that, I played h3, queen c8, and then I went king h2, protecting the pawn on h3. And I was very happy with this position because, you know, I was feeling comfortable. It's a pretty, you know, normal position, I would think. Here my opponent went 98. I went rook e1, just trying to develop normally. And here my opponent surprised me with a move that shocked me. My opponent played rook a5, and I was like, what is this move, bro? Like, really, I just have to take a step back and just appreciate the fact that I mean, no one that I play normally makes this type of moves. Just developing a rook like this, playing a5, a4, rook a5, it's kind of brilliant to me. And you know, the more I looked at this move, the more I thought that it was actually a kind of brilliant idea, very strong. And at first I thought, okay, just I mean, knight c4 should be good here to just you know, challenge this rook, maybe reroute the knight to e3, maybe develop the bishop, something like that. But all of a sudden I realized there are a couple of problems with just playing knight c4, or at least I thought. You know, I'm gonna turn on the engine. Actually, the engine says that knight c4 is the best move. Here I was worried about playing knight c4 for a couple of reasons, honestly. The first one was indeed just rook c5, and here I was worried that, okay, I have to move my knight. I don't really want to play b3. This would weaken the h8 a1 diagonal too much. And okay, I thought that after moving my knight, for example, to e3, my opponent would have a lot of pressure with something like knight b4 even. I can't take because of this pin, you know, or even maybe just a3. I thought that this was very uncomfortable because my opponent will have immense pressure on c3 and on this diagonal. So, and yeah, I thought that knight c4 wouldn't accomplish much. I was also afraid of actually rook h5, which I thought it was like very hard to deal with because I can't go g4 because it just takes the pawn. The h3 pawn is pinned, and he has too much pressure on this h3 pawn, you know. I have to protect this pawn somehow, and just playing knight g1 felt like very passive and very bad. The computer just says h4 here is enough, but for some reason I didn't even consider h4 in this position. I don't know why. Yeah. Um, it is weird that I didn't even consider such a natural move, but yeah, this move, rook a5, completely surprised me, and I think I spent like 20 minutes or 22 minutes, something around that, maybe even 25 minutes, trying to figure out what I should do here. And it's crazy because, I mean, it's the first time that I've seen this idea played against me. I've seen this idea of developing the rook this way in like grandmaster games and international master games, but never in my elo. And yeah, I mean, it's amazing. I wasn't expecting this, to say the least. But okay, let's see what I ended up doing in this position. Here I went knight f1, which I guess I just want to develop my bishop and not run into rook c5 with tempo. You know, knight c4 would run into rook c5. So okay, I played knight f1 here. My opponent played knight d6, and here I played the bishop f4, and I thought that I was completely fine here, and nothing was to worry about. Apparently, bishop f4 is a very bad move. The engine says bishop e3 is way better. And yeah, I thought that the bishop on f4 would be more active, but apparently, yeah, my opponent still has rook h5. I don't really know what I would have done in the game to respond to that, but the even stronger move which my opponent played is e5, and I didn't think that this move was that big of a deal. I just moved back to e3. And yeah, I even thought that maybe e5 is actually not good for him because he blocks his own bishop and he also takes away some squares from his pieces. This rook can no longer swing to h5. So yeah, I actually thought that e5 was a bad move by him, but I completely missed the idea of e5. And yeah, it just strikes with f5, and here I completely crumbled because I was like, oh my god, now it makes perfect sense. Now e5, f5, and I mean, things are gonna open up, you know. I have to do something about this tension, and eventually this pawn is not gonna stay on e5 forever and can, you know, soon jump into action with e4 or support some f4s. And yeah, here, you know, I was already with not too much time on the clock. I mean, I still had a lot of time. I had like probably like 40 minutes or something like that, but he still had like 1 hour and like 15 minutes, I want to say, or 1 hour and 10 minutes. I don't remember. He had a big time advantage on me, of course, but yeah, here I completely got stunned, and I've always had this kind of fear of this f5 move in this type of structures because I never know how I should deal with f5. And yeah, during the game I looked at a whole lot of moves, but I nothing really impressed me for me. I thought that I was already not completely lost, but I thought that I was in a big disadvantage here. And yeah, I ended up playing an horrible move, which is just a pretty um, bad blunder, really beginner level blunder. I played b4, which just gives me a losing position. All of a sudden, computer says that around this position is 0.7 advantage for black, and after my move b4 it's just -2. So yeah, this is just bad. And this is bad for a simple reason. I mean, here I play b4. I thought that I was a genius because I'm opening up the queen side with some initiative and freeing up my pieces. But the simple reason that this is bad, and I didn't really see it during the game, is that after a takes b3 en passant, a takes b3, rook trades on a1, and now my opponent just wins a pawn with knight e4. Just simple. My opponent is just up a pawn for like no compensation at all. I mean, the only compensation that I might have is just the rook controlling the a file, which doesn't do anything in this position. So yeah, I just blundered the pawn in one, uh, just out of, you know, just not seeing that the pawn was hanging at the end of the variation. Very bad calculation skills by me. Yeah, here, I mean, I think let's just, I'm gonna turn on the engine to see what the computer wants. Yeah, the computer just wants e takes on f5, and yeah, it makes sense. My coach, he told me that in this type of positions, I mean, the first thing you should consider is to simply take on f5. That's the first thing you need to be calculating, and if you don't find anything like concretely better than taking on f5, you should just take on f5. It's almost like an immediate move on f5. But I was worried about g takes on f5, and all of a sudden my opponent has this really annoying center, and he can play e4 at an opportune moment. And yeah, it just has too much space. My pieces are super passive, and I thought that this would just be horrible. I mean, turning on the engine, yeah, now the engine wants b4. So, I mean, I guess b4 is not such a bad idea, but I mean, like, okay, you need to first get rid of the pawn that was attacked, and then okay, you can start going with b4 and trying to create some counterplay. So okay, my idea wasn't bad per se, but it was really badly executed because I mean I just hung a pawn in one. But the idea wasn't that bad, but the execution was very bad. But okay, here the engine after taking on f5 even gives bishop f5 as best, and okay, he wins the tempo on the queen. I have to move my queen back, and here I mean this position is just it's just uncomfortable for white. But I mean the computer says that black has a tiny advantage, but from a human perspective, I mean, I look at this position and it feels like black has everything that he wants. Piece is super active, and yeah, the white's pieces are just stuck on the back rank, and yeah, it's just tough. I kept fighting, of course. I went b4, my opponent went b6, and here I went rook d1, and my opponent goes bishop e6, and all of a sudden I thought that my opponent blundered, because now I find this interesting move, knight g1, and now I'm attacking the knight on e4, and if my opponent moves the knight from e4, I will pick up the c6 knight. So here I thought that I'm just winning a pawn, and indeed I'm winning a pawn here. My opponent plays knight e7, and here I just take on e4, he takes back, and here I take the pawn, and I thought, okay, I mean, I'm doing fine. I don't know why, but my opponent just gave me a pawn back. Okay, he got the bishop here, my light squares are possibly gonna be weak, but I thought, I mean, at least I have an equal material, so it can't be that bad. Maybe I'm back in the game, Was already getting low on the clock, but I still had hope of, bringing this game back. Here my opponent played knight f5, attacking my bishop on e3. I went g4. My opponent took my knight, took back with the queen here, and my opponent plays queen a8, and I realized that even though the material is equal, this bishop pair is gonna be super hard to counter, and it's not gonna be that easy, it's gonna be very tough actually. So okay, here I played knight g3, my opponent played bishop h6, which is it's a brilliant move, yeah, I'm in big trouble. Of course, I can't take the bishop, otherwise I just get mated after rook takes on f2, so I have to keep my queen protecting the f2 pawn. Queen e2 here, and my opponent plays bishop f4, and I mean, yeah, this is completely domination by my opponent. The engine gives -3, so yeah, I'm pretty much down a piece positionally speaking, and yeah. With the clock running lower and lower for me, and my position being so weak, my king is absolutely stuck here, can't move at all. I just crumbled in a few moves here. I played c4. I really had no moves to do. I was just running out of time and I had to do something. Queen c6 here just wins the c4 pawn straight away. I sacrifice it with c5, takes, and here my opponent takes the pawn on c5. I play knight f3, trying to finally develop the knight that was doing nothing on g1 here. My opponent plays bishop c4, attacking my queen, and I thought, okay, I mean, at least I'm gonna pin his bishop. And yeah, this was the fatal blunder of the game. My opponent here actually strikes me with a very nice combination to just win the game on the spot, and I was, I was like, okay, that was nice. That was a very nice tactic that he found here. Bishop takes on g3 here. I'm forced to take with the king because the knight is hanging, and when I take with the king on g3, my opponent sacrifices the rook on f3, I pretty much have to take, otherwise I'm just down a piece. And when I take the rook, now my king is on a light square and my opponent just plays bishop d5 check with a discovered attack on my queen. And here, you know, I'm forced to take the bishop. I lose my queen. I get this pawn back for the queen, but yeah, there's just no way I can actually you know, get a draw from this position. The queen is just way too strong. Yeah, just c5, rook e2, and after queen d1, I just decided to call it a day and I resigned. There's nothing I can do. My opponent is just gonna promote the pawn. And yeah, this was the game. My first game against an international master was actually a very instructive game where I think I can learn a lot from this one. My opponent, you know, played some very interesting ideas with the a5, a4, rook a5 plan. Also, the bishop d7, queen c8 with a lot of pressure on that diagonal was interesting. But yeah, you know, I decided to do this strategy of playing a little bit more creative without theory, but you know, it didn't really pay off that well because I got a pretty bad position just straight out of the opening. But okay, we are learning, we are developing as a chess player, and yeah, I'm still you know, satisfied with the experience overall. So yeah, thank you for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you on the next episode. Bye bye.